Good morning. Hope you're doing well. It is right now. This won't matter because you might be listening to this far into the future, but it's Sunday, I believe May 24th. Yes, 24th of May, 2020. We're still in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis globally. It seems to be flattening out, and there are pretty strict lockdowns, all for the purpose of keeping people from catching the virus in massive numbers and overwhelming the hospital systems. Well, most hospital systems now throughout the world, even here, Metro New York, Metro Philadelphia, are handling it just fine. There's capacity within the hospital. So things are starting to open back up, not as quickly as some would like and too quickly for others, but so be it. That's the power of perspective, right? Power of opinion. And we respect each other for the most part through those things, unless it does harm to others, which could be argued in this as well. But we're not going to go there. It's not why I make these videos most of the time. So this morning I'm doing a study, and I just wanted to read the study and just discuss it a little bit. I'll say right up front that there's another YouTube video where I talk about Romans 3, verses 21 through 31. That'll be a great supplement to this. You'll probably want to go watch that after this if this interests you. If not, so be it. But here's something that I read this morning. I just want to read almost verbatim back to you and make some comments on. Performance reward is the value system that drives the world today. Just think about that. Performance reward is the value system that drives the world today. Our worth is measured by our ability to live up to certain standards. Expectations are conveyed to children very early. A parent rewards desirable behavior and punishes undesirable behavior. Love and worth are often seen as conditional. Let me pause for a second and give a real world example of that. I run a business. In my business, we pay people pretty well. We give them benefits. We do all this kind of stuff, right? But one of the things that we do is when the company does really well, when the P&L is showing a high positive number, the partners don't just rake all of that money in for themselves. We like to pay back the people who made the company successful, right? And so what does that mean? That means if we have a great P&L, they're going to get quarterly bonuses. They're going to get a year-end bonus. They get a profit-sharing bonus at the end of the year, which is a percentage of their total pay, including those other previous bonuses, right? And so people are rewarded at my business, my place of business. My employees are rewarded based on their performance. They receive that reward. Exactly like I said here. It's a normal thing in the life of most human beings, and it seems like a really healthy thing, right? It motivates people, drives them in the right direction. You know, you work out, you lose weight, you eat right, you're healthy, you're nice to people, hopefully they're nice to you back. It's a performance reward thing. Well, that's the human standard. Let's see what this says here, and then we'll discuss it a little more. Since the performance reward system is part of the air that we breathe, we assume that this is the way God operates as well. I'll read that again. Since the performance reward system is part of the air we breathe, or extraordinarily normal, it's just the everyday thing that we would expect everywhere, we assume that this is the way God operates as well. We think God runs the universe using the scale of justice. When our life ends, we expect that there will be an accounting of our deeds. All of our good deeds will be piled up on one side of the scale, and all of our bad deeds on the other side, and our only hope is for the scale to tip the right way. I don't know how many times you've run into people and they say, start talking about God in some way, shape, or form. They go, oh, well, I'm a good person. Yeah, I'm going to make it to heaven. I'm a good person. I do good things. I do this. They start talking about their deeds. They start talking about their accomplishments, how nice they are to people, the good things that they do in the world to make up for what they know is their shortcoming, right? We all have shortcomings. We all make mistakes. There's no doubt about that. If you say that you don't make mistakes, I'll be visiting you in the mental hospital very soon because if you say that often enough, people are going to know you're absolutely nuts. You're wrong. You're crazy. You're a liar. I'm a liar if I say that. I should talk about me. I shouldn't talk about you. I just alienated half of the people watching the video, right? And now I'm thinking out loud. That's helpful. So anyway, there's one of my shortcomings. So here's the rest of that. Yet, the gospel is revolutionary because its message is contrary to all that we have been programmed to believe. So let me just describe for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know, when we say the gospel, it's the story of Jesus coming, fully God, in spirit form, in the body of a human being, living a human life and doing everything that Jesus did, including dying, raising from the dead, conquering death, and going on. That's just a nutshell version of that story. So the gospel is revolutionary because its message is contrary to all we have been programmed to believe. Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, one of the leading religious Jews of his time, a Pharisee of Pharisees. He knew the law inside and out. He knew the Old Testament, the first 5 books, the Torah, and everything else, the prophets, all of that. He had that memorized and so ingrained that when Christianity came and it challenged the way of living that he had, he actually went out and authorized the killing of human beings because they contradicted what he believed, right? Not because it was necessarily something that was against his faith, because there are things that they were doing that would be considered sin in his eyes or wrong according to the teachings that he had. But more than that, it challenged his way of living. It challenged the control that religion had on people. So Paul gets saved, winds up coming to Jesus Christ, and his eyes are open. He's like, holy cow, I didn't see this perspective. I didn't see it from your perspective, Christians. Now I get it. Not only do I see it, I'm experiencing it. This is amazing. Well, I can't believe I was missing this. Anyway, so Paul says, but now, apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been made known. But now, apart from the law, the righteousness from God has been made known. So what is the righteousness of God? First of all, righteousness is right standing. It means blamelessness. It means you can stand before people and there's no spot, no blemish. There's no cause for accusation. There's no fault. There's no sin. There's no mistakes. So what's the righteousness of God? It's what he pours out on human beings, or when he looks at human beings and says, you have my righteousness, he's saying, listen, I'm perfect. There's not a single flaw in me, which is a subject of a whole nother video, right? But let's presume that's the case. He says, that righteousness, that perfection, when I look at you, you have that. It's on you. How do we get that? We'll get to that in a second. So when Paul says, but now, apart from the law, the righteousness from God has been made known. What's the law? That's all that Old Testament stuff. It's those 600 laws and rules and customs and, just traditions that he was standing up for and killing people for. It's the stuff that you see all over in the Jewish faith today. It's what you see in some of the sects of the SECTS, sects of the Christian church, where they say you have to do certain things to earn God's favor. And that's a bunch of junk. You don't earn God's favor through what you do. It's a gift, right? But we'll get to that again in a second. We're going to get to a lot over a long period of time here. We'll get to it. So here's what it says. That's Romans 3:21, by the way. In other words, being made right before God has come to us apart from our ability to live up to God's expectations. Paul contrasts the righteousness that comes from God with the righteousness we attempt to attain by being good people. So listen, the next time somebody says to you, Bob, where are you going? Bob, I'm Bob, and I'm going to heaven. Well, why is that, Bob? Well, I'm a good person. I do this. I've never done this. Understand something. If God is truly 100% perfect, then even the mispronunciations that I did with these little words make me imperfect. And if I come into his kingdom, the absolute perfect kingdom will no longer be absolutely perfect. So what is the filter? What is the lens that has to be used in order to remove all of that stuff from my life? If I go feed 10,000 homeless people, or I get 500,000, folks in African villages clean water and medical care and all this other kind of stuff, is that enough to remove my mistake? Absolutely not. And I've made bigger mistakes, by the way, than just a mispronunciation of a word, and so have you. And again, anybody who doesn't admit that, go back to my previous comments. So how do we attain pure righteousness, pure wholeness, if you will, right standing before God? Well, it comes through Christ. When Christ came on this earth, when God himself went to Mary, created a human being inside of a virgin woman, Mary, and out came a human being that they named Yeshua. We call him Jesus. There was a 100% human being created much in the way Adam and Eve were, not through sexual relations, which is what the Muslim faith would claim Christianity says, and dismiss everything we say right then and there without even thinking about it. He shows up, 100% God on the inside, 100% man on the outside. He lives an absolutely sinless life. Now, he grew in stature and knowledge. It says that Jesus learned as he grew older, but he didn't make mistakes that would be considered sin. He was perfect, and yet he died. Now, what's the importance of that? Why is it important that Jesus got killed by people, right? Forget about the fact that people killed him and just think of the Old Testament law that the Jews follow. They sacrificed animals to temporarily cover over their mistakes so that they could come before their God and worship him and hear from him and live a life under this umbrella of God. Well, when Jesus dies, he's a human being, the only perfect sacrifice ever made. The only absolutely perfect sacrifice ever made. And it basically, that sacrifice, because he's 100% God, is an eternal sacrifice. It covers human beings from the beginning to the end. Okay? So now, this righteousness that we need, the penalty for our mistakes, is paid for by someone else. So when you and I stand before God, and he goes, let me pull out my book and see what it is that makes you perfect to come in here. He's not doing what we do. He's not saying, well, did you feed those 10,000 people? Did you bring clean water? He's not looking for that. He's saying, what's the level of purity in your life? Where's your righteousness? Are you able to come into this kingdom without diluting, destroying the purity that is here, 100% purity? And when he looks, if we don't have Jesus, we've got something similar to what I've got in front of me here. We've got all the stuff that we've done in life that condemns us. With Jesus, there's a blank page, and right at the top it says paid, or cleansed, or good, or whole, or righteous. Because Jesus, through our faith in him, reconciles us to God. Right? Think about that. That's the whole purpose that I wanted to read this. It's just to give clarity on that whole process. For those of you who are Christ followers, just FYI, then Christ rises from the dead. He conquers death so that, he basically says later on, you're my body in the world, continue my work. He himself, in the form of the Holy Spirit, he says, I will send my Spirit, comes down. He fills the believers. He gives us the power to do the things that he did, as evidenced throughout the entire New Testament. And it's all about the Holy Spirit and Jesus and God. It's all about him being in us, on us, around us. We're the light of the world. We're like a beacon walking through the darkness. We're a city on a hill. If you're walking through the wilderness and you're trying to find some place to stay at night, and all of a sudden you look off in the distance and there's a hill and there's a city up on that hill, you're like, I found it. All right, that's where I'm headed. That's what we're supposed to be. I hope this video is that to someone. I hope somebody sees the light, right? Gets the context, realizes that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life that he claimed he was. No other religious leader in the world accurately claimed that they were deity, that they were pure God, 100% pure. Every other one out there, do your research, they have faults, they had questions, they might have come into enlightenment, but they were never pure from the beginning all the way to the end. Jesus is the only one who claims that. He's the only one who can pay the price to make us righteous. And when the Holy Spirit comes on you and me, we walk through this life with the power of Jesus. And I don't mean this in like a televangelist way. I mean this in a way that we're supposed to be going out and helping people be reconciled to God. So we're not saved because of all the good stuff that we do, feeding those 10,000, clean water, medical, holding some old lady's hand when she crosses the street. We're not saved by that stuff. But guess what? Once we accept Jesus by faith and receive that righteousness in our life, we say, hey, listen, my journey is going to be messy. Just like that city on the hill, You know, it's got goats walking around in it and they're dumping their sewage on the street. There's messiness there, but man, there's salvation there. Well, my life is messy too, and I'm going to trust that God is going to direct my journey from this point forward, and every step that I take, He's going to be the light unto my feet, a lamp showing me so I don't trip up on stuff, and He's going to be the light unto my path so I can see ahead just far enough to keep going and not worry about the stuff that I mess up on. Because we are here to do His works. You are here to do His works and to help people be introduced to Him. So, you know, I don't normally do this, but I just want to suggest right now, maybe I should do this more. I want to suggest right now, I'm not going to do an altar call. I'm not going to say close your eyes and give your life to Jesus right now. You could do that, and I would suggest you do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, turn this thing off when I'm done. Sit in silence. Just think about what I've said. Think about how you could possibly measure up to purity and how good that gift would be, that you can come into a family of people who are completely cleansed, who have a mission in life, a calling, a destiny, a path to walk. They have meaning in life, and they go forth into a future that's incredibly bright and hopeful. Do you want to be part of that? Think about that. And if you do, I would suggest that you get rid of your cognitive dissonance. You get rid of this thing that says, I don't want to be part of religion. This is not about religion. This is about getting closer in relation to the God of the universe. That's what it really is. That sounds nuts if you're not a Christian. If you are, I'm telling you, experience it and it'll make sense. The light will come on like it did for Saul of Tarsus. Okay? So do that when I'm done. I suggest that. If you can't, if you're about to jump into work or you're about to get on a Zoom call because we're in COVID-19 and we're staring at screens all day, and here I am making you do that, I suggest that when you lie down in your bed tonight, write a note right now. Stick it on your chest or something so when you take your shirt off, you see it. I don't care how you do it. When you lie down and you're alone, give that time to Christ and say something like, hey, God, you know, I don't even know what all this stuff means. This is my first real exposure to it, besides my criticism of it, besides my doubt, besides my you got to be kidding type attitude. But, you know, if you're real, if this is all real, if what Joe said is real, I want to know it. I welcome you to show me the truth. I'm going to give you everything right now. If you're not there, I'm giving it to no one. So if you're there, I'm giving you everything, and I'm asking you to please show up. Show me the lamp to my feet so I can take my steps with clarity, and the light to my path so I can walk this journey of life with meaning, purpose, destiny, all that kind of stuff. I want that. And I don't know what it means, but I'm in. Show me. You're welcome to show up here and take over anything you want. Because if you're real, that's the only answer there is. Go ahead and do that. I dare you to do that. Or in the words of those of us who were brought up in the 70s and 80s, I triple dog dare you to do that. God bless you guys. Always reach out to me with questions or whatever. And again, I would suggest that you go check out that other video on Romans chapter 3, 21 through 31 that I've got up on YouTube as well. God bless you guys.